right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Terrell Antoine with his correspondent with Curvypreneur Television. I'm actually with two special guests who came here for Curvypreneur for a taping, and I'm with two lovely ladies, Miss Lisa Pearl.
Hello. I don't know where I'm
TV
looking.
show host, radio show host, and actress, producer, director, and
Makeup artist.
makeup artist.
Mommy.
She's a jack of all trades, and I'm with the lovely director of Independence, Miss Drica Armstrong, and I'm definitely I'm gonna just say I'm happy for both of y'all to come here today
Thank you.
because today already is interesting enough, and we already had a good discussion. I was like, we're gonna have to start talking about it a little bit more on the show because I'd rather have it to be good content for us to have something to talk about. So
We can certainly talk about that.
yeah,
Definitely.
About how to behave
Yes.
Yeah.
as part of a team on a
Yes.
set and
Yes.
we're gonna talk a little bit
weird
about
things that are inappropriate.
We're gonna talk about productions. We're gonna talk about filming productions, independent productions, personalities on from the casts and stuff like that. Because there's so much already to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I know you have tons of stuff to talk about, and including who was a diva, or who was not a diva, who was straight. You know how that goes.
We won't
Everybody's
use
been
any
into the film
particular
thing.
names, but we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah. So
There's certain protocol on just being
Of course.
being a team member
And knowing your place.
and
On
knowing-
set.
you know what? That's absolutely true. I would never do some of the things that you've described to me.
Yes.
And I do lots of different things, but I know my job at that particular moment on that particular project. If my job is to be the makeup artist,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the assistant production person for that job, so it's not my place.
It's about respecting the hierarchy.
It's
of,
about respecting.
Like, it's definitely about respecting the hierarchy
Absolutely.
of the production and the business.
and somebody else's
Money,
else's job.
time.
Somebody
Mhm.
else's job.
So,
You know-
so doing independent filming, I know, put together a budget, put together a script, the
Mhm.
cast, locations, whose roles doing what,
Mm-hmm.
and what stuff that have y'all done that got to that point. I want to write this down. I want to put this in paper. I want to start, creating my own movie, and so how do y'all all get started? I'm gonna start with you, Miss Lisa.
How do I get started? You're talking about like writing a film. I don't write film.
No, like what you do. You doing the radio,
I do the radio.
and you're doing your vlogging, your video blogging.
Right. I do a
And-
lot of live streaming.
Yeah. So how did you get started with that?
How did I get started, period?
Yeah.
I was actually invited in as a guest
Mm.
because I've done so many different things and I'm very public.
Mm.
All right. So I post a lot of photos. I was doing some pinup modeling and I was doing some film production and some makeup. I do a lot of things, so I put it out there.
Mm.
So I was contacted to be a guest.
Mm.
And I went into Manhattan to be that guest.
Mm.
And within a short period of time, like 20 minutes, he started asking me about co-hosting. I need a co-host. And I'd never done radio before because my shows are radio.
Mm.
At this time, my shows are radio and I do social media live streaming. So we got through a little longer, and again, he brings it up.
Mm.
I need a co-host. And I realized that I really wasn't there just to be his guest. It was an interview. He really was looking for a co-host.
Mm.
And I finished that show and told him, let me think about it. I'll let you know. And within a few days, I said, all right, I'll give it a try. So that's how I got started with the radio. I do so many different things. So I'm not sure if you want me to address other arenas, but the radio, that's how I got started with the radio. And I'm in my second year now on my radio shows.
Congratulations.
Thank
Second
you.
year.
I've 2 radio shows. I added the second one just this past end of October, actually,
Okay.
because I discovered a niche.
All
I
right.
discovered a niche that there was not a show highlighting writers and authors. So I initially gave one show a month
Mm.
to that. And within a couple months, I realized it needed its own show.
Mm.
So I just did a second show, and I doubled my time. So that's how that got started. What else would you like to know?
Well, because your niche is pretty awesome. Because you know, I've actually came on your show.
You came
And,
on my show as a guest
Yeah,
and a guest co-host,
yeah.
which is fun.
I came
right?
on your show to be a special co-host, and now
Right.
you're a special co-host on mine.
Right, thank you.
And
Well, I turned the tables on you because you invited me to come on and be interviewed here. And in that he says, "Can I call you?" I was like, "Yeah, you can call me." So in that conversation, I somehow got you to come on and be my guest co-host before 2 weeks before me coming on. It's like I twisted it on him. It's like, well, why don't you come co-host my show? And you did. So that was kind of fun.
well, it was fun.
Everybody, people that I told kind of laughed at me. It's like, yeah, he was kind of getting lay of the land to bring me in to be interviewed. And I brought him in as my guest and co-host. So
So
it's your fault. You said, can I call you?
I enjoyed it.
It was fun though, right?
Yeah.
Well, you were great on the radio.
Yeah,
Actually, you got a lot of compliments from my listening audience that he's got a great radio voice, and he does.
Thank you. I try my best.
Right? No, really.
Now, Drica,
Yes.
you, on the other hand, you do independent filming,
Yes.
and already you have a bunch of scripts made. You
Yes.
actually have a premiere film
Mhm.
already set,
Yes.
including getting you've done a number
Stage
of
play,
stage plays,
Books.
It's
You-
really
you
awesome.
you've done it all.
Hey, I'm trying to.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Another lady with a lot of hats.
Yes. Too many hats.
We just like, well, but you're much like me because I have a lot of hats.
It's good to have. I mean, with all the hats, you could take one off, put one on. I mean, there's no favorite hat. It's just wearing them, being able to wear them all and wear them all successfully is just an amazing feat to have. I mean, it's just, who says women can't do it all and be successful?
You know what? I love doing it all. The trick is to balance and try to do them at the same time.
Of course.
That's the hard part.
You have to become a magician of some sort in
Right.
order to get it done.
Right. Absolutely.
So now, Drica, how did you get started with, putting all your dreams into fruition with doing film and production?
Well, see, you know, it started from writing books. I've been writing books since I was a teenager, and I really didn't take it seriously until my freshman year of college in Newberry College in Brookline, Mass. And I went up there. I have no family up there, so I went up there, and I was bored. I had nothing to do. I hadn't quite gotten friends yet, so I started writing a book. Of course, that book took me all my 4 years, because once I got friends, I kind of put the book to the side. But I completed the book my senior year of college, and when I graduated, I said, okay, well, let me just do something with it, and people liked it. And then more books came to follow, and then I said, you know what? Books is easy. Let's try something hard. And I actually went to the American Black Film Festival that they had out in New York in 2014. I took a master's class with Robert Townsend, and I always say I walked in there a writer and walked out a filmmaker. That master's class was everything I ever needed film-wise, just to look at what he'd been through and what his success story was and how it didn't happen overnight. You know, he said, hey, did you guys realize I was in like maybe an extra in about 20 films before I did my own? You know, like I would just go to set just to sit there and just watch. And, you know, and he also talked about his breakout film, which was The Five Heartbeats. And he said, you know, Hollywood Shuffle, his first film.
Yeah, the first film he did.
Correct,
Yeah.
which is my favorite film. He said, your first film should do nothing but give you a platform to stand on.
Right.
Mhm.
It should not make you rich. It will not make you rich. It will not even get you fame or fortune. What it should do is give you a name
It's
and a
it's
platform
a foot in the door.
to really stand on. Now, your second film is where you really hit him hard. And he told us, as iconic as, you know, The Five Heartbeats was, every studio closed their door on me. Even with celebrities I had in there, which at the time was Diane Carroll and Harold Nichol of the Nichols brothers. You know, I had Diane Carroll. You know, she was a celebrity, but, you know, I still got every door closed on me now. Go 20, 30 years later, the Five Heartbeats is a very iconic film. And he said,
it's a very iconic film.
And he just said, as a filmmaker, you have to understand, not everybody will like your vision, and those that do probably want your vision. So definitely protect yourself, protect your creativity, but also you have to be willing to fall many times. Just have a pack of Band-Aids, pat yourself up, get back up, and keep on, because you won't make it overnight. And if you do, you better question it. But just that master's class set in my mind, I'm going to be a filmmaker. And then fast forward 3 years later, I have already done my first feature film, which has won awards at some film festivals. I'm also now working on my second film called Trials and Truth, as well as a few short films. I'm writing short films for other people now, writing one-woman shows and stage plays. So it's an amazing journey to be on.
I'm actually really excited sitting here listening to you.
Thank you.
Talking more about your screenwriting, your ability as a writer, because I have my fingers on some things in which it's not one of my hats. It's not one of my hats. I do a lot of things involving film. I produce film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an actor. I do a lot of different things. And I'm approached very often with people because of my radio shows and my access to writers, authors.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those people want to turn their books into screenplays. They want to take their stories into screenplay. And I'm not a scriptwriter.
Well,
So, I mean, I have my fingers on things right now in which I'm involved, but I'm not the girl.
now see, I get that question a lot. I get a lot of people that, say, hey, Drica, look, I have an idea that I want to turn into a book, or I have an idea that I want to turn into a film.
Right.
I am kind of like, I try to be as honest as I possibly can with things like that, because either option is very costly.
Right.
Making a film is not cheap.
No.
Producing a book is not cheap. What I tell people is this: you have to understand and know, does your story stand out?
Right.
Does your story stand out? Has your story been told before? If a person comes to me and say, hey, look, I have a story about a guy named Jack, a girl named Jill. They went up a hill to fetch
Somebody fell down.
avion, and then guess what?
Great.
They tumbled down, bumped their head, and I'm like, been done before.
I've heard this.
So it's like, you have to understand, is your story original? Is your story something that people will gravitate to? Not just you, but other people.
Right.
Because not every book should be, not every story should be turned into a book or a film.
Right.
You have to make sure that you know your audience, know exactly if this is something people want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Because and I get it all the time. Hey, my life story should be a movie. And I'm like, okay, what is it? So it's weird.
Not everybody have a good story about their life, because I remember a few biographies were over exaggerated.
Oh, yes.
And I've actually seen some of them, because I'll be on certain sites that will show their aspects, or they find a little they do a little dissecting of the film. Like, for instance, out of looper.com, they would go through a film. They will talk about the tale of it, how the story got together, but sometimes they will dissect it to find out if it's true or not.
Correct.
Because some of the stuff adds on to make it sound like it's something that's not really what it is.
Correct.
Sometimes you would have people want to amp up a little something.
Yeah.
Or like, for instance, that movie that came out a few years ago. What the hell was it called? Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yes, the Vampire Hunter. Yes.
What the hell was that?
See, you know what?
I looked at the story itself. I never watched it, but I've actually seen the trailer, and I'm like, what the hell did y'all become?
I would not watch. I heard about it. I'm a very big historian.
Abraham Lincoln and the Vampire.
Abraham Lincoln and Kennedy are two of our presidents that I actually have studied tremendously throughout my teachings as a teenager. I never saw no vampire.
I just don't understand how
I never heard about one.
How the hell did you get a president to be a vampire.
Well, see, you know what? That's what's happening in Hollywood right now. Nothing is becoming original. They're remaking everything over and over because there's a lack of originality in Hollywood, and we've seen this lack of originality.
And a lot of the films are over budget.
Very much so.
Film is expensive.
It is expensive.
It is expensive.
But you know what it is? People are not going to the movies anymore. Why? Because a movie ticket and that's probably my son calling me saying, hey, Mom.
Right.
Movie theaters, at one point in time, you could take your whole family for about a good maybe $20-$25.
No.
Now, you got to pay almost $16 per ticket. Don't even count in on the popcorn tub about this big that costs about $25.
Right.
Yeah.
They're paying a cell phone bill to go see the movie theater with the family of 4. But you know what? What I see is with Hollywood is with the biopics. Either they're right on point, correct truth, they're straddling the fence, or they're just putting stuff in there that is not being completely honest. And one of the biopics that I've seen throughout my life that I thought was the biggest fabrication definitely had to be What's Love Got to Do with It? The Tina Turner story.
Okay.
Big fabrication.
Really?
And
there was some stories about Tina Turner
that was not
were
depicted in the movie.
Yeah.
There was they have a Unsung on a network, on a cable network, TV1, and they do Unsung, where they take old groups or old performers and kind of just get their story out. And one of them was on Ike Turner, and he said, my biggest downfall of my career was not going to jail, not being on jail, like not being on drugs, not being in jail,
That's a downfall.
not being, there for my children. My biggest downfall was her making this movie.
Because she was more. Actually, was talking to a guy who actually knows Tina Turner personally, and he actually told a lot more of a better tale that makes more sense about Tina Turner. And what annoyed me was that she really doesn't want to connect with her African American roots.
Correct.
Does not want
She
to. She does not want to be involved with any black films. She does not want to do anything with another African American artist.
Nope.
And I was like, damn, she really messed me up with the whole logic. And then finding out that she actually said in an interview that that she does not like to put herself with anything that's involving her roots, where she lived, where she came from, and all that stuff. A lot of stuff was misconstrued in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And when
It's kind of sad.
there was a
It is.
It's
also
kinda
there was
sad.
a part. It was a part of the movie that I didn't know that was fake. Well, kind of misconstrued was when she got her hair done.
When her hair fell out.
Her hair fell out.
Mm-hmm.
Found out there was more to that story.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't. The thing was that she was supposed to get her hair done, but she wanted it blonde. Like
Mm-hmm.
she wanted
Marilyn
like,
Monroe.
She wanted Marilyn Monroe blonde, but there was a little something that the chemicals
I was going to say that caused her hair to fall out.
Yeah. Then
Wow.
it was not just the person that did the hair, it was also her.
The process.
Yeah.
The demanding of doing that.
Correct.
Yeah.
The fact is that she had a process done before she left St. Louis and didn't tell her hairstylist that when she got to the new hair
That she had
place.
just done this.
Correct. And so that's, and the
God.
chemicals fell out. One of the scenes, as we know, Eat the Cake anime, when she's in the restaurant and Ike Turner smashes the cake in her face, did not happen. The scene where she is assaulted in the recording booth did not happen.
No, she was,
A lot of the scenes that people...
You know what? If it was just a story about some performer and some story about, if it wasn't a real person, and it was
Then
strictly
you could embellish all of that.
If it was just a made up, it was a fairy tale.
You can embellish all
You
that.
can do anything you want, but this is an iconic woman. And what we see, we believe.
And what happened is that people saw the
What
film.
we see, we believe.
People saw the film,
'Cause we
and
know her.
Ike Turner and his family stated that there were days that they recall one particular show that he had went to, and he was walking up the stairs to go to the stage, and someone said, "How could you do that to Tina?" and spat on him. And he said,
I didn't.
and he said people, he got, after a while, he got used to people spitting on him
That's horrible.
because of what they saw in this movie.
Because they felt that he abused her.
And his family and friends who were on the band say, we saw them fight. That's no lie. We saw them fight. But
it
we
didn't go
also
there.
saw her being the aggressor a lot of times. Right. We have seen her just walk up and punch him in the face, and then he retaliate, and then she's the one with the black eye, people thinking, oh, he beat her. You know, we have seen them fight.
Right.
You know, we have seen Tina on drugs.
Yeah.
But that was not depicted in the movie.
And Tina,
It was very
Tina,
one-sided.
Very
twisted.
one-sided.
I was recalling that she was actually picked to play in a movie called Purple.
Correct.
She was supposed to play
Right,
Suge
okay.
Avery.
And she declined it.
She declined it, and that's when that whole thing about her about not being involved in black productions.
She feels as though that
They're
at
beneath
the
her.
time they were beneath
I
her.
wonder if she regretted that.
Well, see, you
Because
know
that
what?
was huge.
The thing is
I mean,
that
I loved. Actually, I loved the book. I did. I read the book
now in
before
Switzerland. She don't care about the U.S. She has given up her U.S.
citizenship
to
She's
become
only
a
Europe.
Swiss native.
Interesting.
She doesn't, because for a very long time she was paying taxes both the U.S. and in Switzerland.
Right.
But she feels as though, why go back to the U.S. where I was not respected? But then she goes, hey, I put like this, to each his own. You know, there's some biopics that need to be told and some that don't. One biopic that I don't ever want to see again is the Whitney Houston one. I know that her that they did a biopic for her on Lifetime. I want to say a year or two ago. I think a year ago. They did hers last year with Angela Bassett was the director, and her family was a little upset that, for one, they didn't cast her daughter, the late Bobby Christina, as Whitney. As her mother, and they also felt as though Whitney's biopic should have went to a bigger screen, like the James Brown biopic, Get Up. Here's my thing with biopics: when you're not willing to tell the truth, there's no need for them.
Right.
And it's also
Right.
it's like the situation with the Richard Pryor biopic, taking so many years just to get that shit together.
Yes,
Because obviously,
and the Red Fox one too.
damn,
They're still wait. Somebody, I know someone who
I could have
has
done.
bought
Hell,
the
if that was the
rights.
case, I could have done Red
Red
Fox.
Fox?
I know someone who has bought the rights to the Red Fox biopic. The family's only request is that you have to make sure that you tell the truth.
The truth.
But there were certain things they didn't want in there, and my friend has informed them, how do you want people to really understand who Red Fox was when you're not willing to
picking and
tell
choosing.
the truth? And that's why these biopics, you have to be able to tell the truth. The Whitney Houston biopic is the worst case of anybody not telling the truth, that it just made why are you willing?
Why do that?
Well, see, you know what? Angela Bassett was asked that question. Why are you not willing to tell the truth? And
Right.
she said, I wanted to,
Is
it's
it to
bad
protect?
enough.
It's to protect.
It's bad enough that the family already isn't going for this with me. The family's not on board.
Right.
I want to respect the family and keep a lot of what has happened, secret. But again, it's a
tough line.
biopic.
That's a tough
and the other
line.
part
We
with-
know
and the-
she was on drugs.
Yeah, everybody
Right.
knows she was on drugs. Hell, shit.
Show us
That-
who she
that
bought her
radio-
drugs from. That's what I want to
Like the
know.
radio show
Right.
interview between
How
her
did she
and
get-
And Whitney
How did
Williams.
she get?
Ooh-wee.
How did she get to that point in her life? That's the underlying story.
Wendy-
It's not she's a druggie.
Wen-
It's
Wendy-
like how did she?
Wendy
What
Williams-
happened?
Her
Wendy
brother
Williams-
gave her drugs.
Right. What
Yeah,
happened?
and everybody
What
kept
the
saying it
dynamics
was.
there?
Everybody kept saying it was Bobby. Bobby had nothing to do with it.
And they blamed him for years.
Yeah, and they harassed him, but there was no proof that he actually did any of that. And there was so much of the story of that biopic. Nobody really said there was actually the movie was just one.
It was
Wow.
one movie, just 2 hours on Lifetime.
Exactly,
And it was just
only,
absolutely
it's pretty much
terrible.
it only showed some parts of his relationship, but they never showed the real other parts of their relationship from like the time he was with New Edition.
or the time that of the abuse or not. That biopic just showed Whitney going through struggles. I mean, it's like, for one, I'm not happy that the Houston family, no, let me rephrase that. I'm not happy that the late Whitney Houston let her family and her colleagues ridicule Bobby Brown for over 20 years, that he's the one that got her hooked on drugs, when Whitney Houston herself knew that was not the case. And then Whitney's last interview with Oprah Winfrey, when Oprah asked her, well, let's set the record straight. Did Bobby Brown get you hooked on drugs? And Whitney Houston said, no, he didn't. And she said, well, who did? She said, I will not tell you that, but I can tell you it was not Bobby Brown. I was on drugs long before he came into the picture. And she asked her, why would you let your family and your colleagues and your friends blame him publicly for all this time and you not saying anything? And her answer was, now that would have been a good answer to say, I was protecting who really did it. Her answer was, because it was easier to blame him than for me to come clean and say I was always on drugs. Now fast forward to after her death, when she has a interview with her mother. And her mother and her younger brother, in fact, not the, believe it was her, because I think Whitney's the baby, she has 2 older brothers. And she's asked, well, Miss Houston, who got Whitney hooked on drugs? And her brother said, I did. And her mother's like, what are you talking about? He said, well, we were at a concert one day at Madison Square Garden. He worked in a band. And the band, I forgot what group he was with, because he wouldn't say, to protect the band, the artist. And he said, I was on stage and Whitney was behind the stage, and when she was in my dressing room, you know, I went and I did a line of coke, and then I put coke in, you know, my marijuana. And Whitney asked, could she have a hit? And I said, sure, as long as you're with me, I know nobody will tamper with your stuff. Right. And she was hooked ever since. She's been hooked since she was about 18, 19. Sad. She did meet Bobby until what, her mid to late 20s. Right. But all this time she was on drugs. And you let him.
It's really a sad story.
And then you let them blame him.
She didn't want to admit how weak she was.
Exactly.
She didn't want to.
The voice.
She didn't. That's what she was. You know what? It is a weak person that lets somebody else take the fall and doesn't stand up and say.
For over 20 years.
Because it made her. It put the limelight back on her.
He was already the bad boy,
and
so
it was easy.
It was so easy.
It was easy.
So easy.
And then her family, her brother. I mean, why would she want to say no? It wasn't him, but it was my brother.
Now back to the biopics. If y'all, now I'm gonna give y'all a little something. Each of y'all, I want y'all to each give me, if y'all had production money and you had your production studio and whatnot.
Right.
I want y'all each give me 5 biopics that you would like to produce. I will start with you, Miss Lisa. If you were to have a production company,
right,
you have a budget, and you got 5 biopics that you want to put together, who would be your first 5?
I've never thought about that. I don't really know. I do. I'll tell you what. I don't know if it's technically.
Marilyn Monroe.
Well, you know what? I don't. Yeah. Well, I do like Marilyn Monroe. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by her story, her life, her involvement with JFK, and that would most definitely be somebody that I'd be interested in really diving into.
Who else would you do movies on?
Well, now
if you had,
let me ask you: does this have to be someone who's deceased?
Deceased. Right.
Well, I'll tell you what. I do work with Canon Films out of LA. All right, and Gabriel Cora is the nephew of one of the original, Menachem Golan, which was one of the original founders of the film company. And they've got quite a history of action films, and and the company had, you know, a roller coaster ride, and now they're coming back strong. And Gabriel is actually taking on the legacy of that company to bring it back with more power. So he and looking back into his family would be an interesting.
That'd be awesome.
It would be awesome.
You could always plan different biopics of people that you would like to. That's either influencing your life,
Right.
it could be anybody who are public figures, and you always put a lot of those plans together just to make a story to be told
Sure.
from that person that's alive that tells their story, so that they give everybody know what's the bottom of everything.
It's interesting. I really have never thought about that because I don't come at things from the writer's point of view. Okay, so that's not a normal thought pattern for me. I think about, my background is acting. Theater progressed into film. Even I do voice work now. I'm on the radio. That's kind of voice acting-ish. And so I'm talking and interviewing people all the time about their foundations and their influences. But I never thought about bringing it into the realm of actually producing film, creating that. I really haven't. I'm involved now in producing film, but films are already presented. The writing is already done. The script is there. The company. It's like I'm a little bit later in the line, so I haven't really thought about that much. I never thought about having that much creative freedom.
Yeah, you
Actually, which is kind of it's kind of enlightening to sit here thinking, I have thought about writing, just my own story, of course, but also children's books. I thought about writing, so my mind is kind of there. I also think about directing, as we've talked about. My view, I see things from a director's point of view now, which lends itself to writing. It's like I guess my mind is kind of almost there, but not quite. So to even ask me that question is like, oh, I'm not sure.
You got time and you got pen and paper. Start writing ideas.
Right.
They get you in another perspective.
It's another perspective of the artistic world of film and production. It's a whole other. And it's interesting because I'm actually working as a producer and doing proofing and editing for somebody right now, and I do the voice work. And I've talked to him a little bit about the fact that, I really would like to get involved behind the camera as well, because I do see things from a directive point of view now, and it just kind of crept up on me. I realized I was holding my mouth and sitting on my hands because I wanted to say things. Like we've discussed, you have somebody who doesn't keep it to herself.
Correct.
Whereas I have enough respect that I do. But then after, okay, I'm on my second film with this guy, do I dare ask? And I've started saying, I really like to kind of, and the reception has been amazing. It's like, you? Yes, whatever you want. We like you around. We'll teach you. Yes. But from a point of view of respecting that person and their position, I haven't really reached into that. But this person that I've done some work with recently, the voiceover work, I've said to him, I'm starting to see things this way, and I'm thinking maybe I would like to try directing. I would like to assistant direct, to just get one step closer to, like what you're asking, to writing and producing something there. And I'm saying to him, I see that in the future, and he's telling me, no, it's now. He is. So you're asking me questions as though I'm there. And this was just this past week I met with him because I'm editing and proofing the script. And I'm saying, it's something in the future that I can see myself. And he's saying, no, now. Now. I'm saying I'm almost there. He says, no, you're there. Which is interesting. So maybe somebody like yourself, maybe you're seeing something that I'm not quite accepting yet. This other man, he was like, no, now. You're there now. And I'm thinking that somewhere in the future, that's kind of another no now. So maybe I should be thinking about producing more of these. maybe it's sooner than later.
What about you, Drica?
Oh, if I had the production money. Okay. See, I'm more of a crime and history type of person. So I want films that'll definitely really just sink your teeth in. Me, one of the biopics I would do is about the murder of a private first class Lavina Johnson. She's actually the same age as myself. In 2006, she was stationed over in Afghanistan.
I remember
And-
this story happening.
Yeah, I heard about it.
And
Yeah,
what
I
happened
do.
is she actually was found in a tent, dead. The tent was burning, but her body wasn't affected by the fire. And it's so strange. I actually spoke to her father about this because on my old
did?
radio show, I actually had her father and her mother on my show for a 2-hour special.
That is awesome.
And from the details that was gathered, she was about my height, a little shorter. I'm 5'3", so she was about my height. Her death was ruled a suicide. They're saying that she sat on her bottom and held an AK-47 between her legs and shot herself in the mouth. The
I don't think that's possible.
bullet went in her mouth, bounced up to her skull, lodged back through her jaw and in the back of her tongue.
Is it
This-
mechanically even possible?
No, it's not.
I'm your
This
height.
gun.
I'm about 5'3" myself. I'm thinking
This gun is
we're
about
small when
maybe
we're
about
sitting down.
this gun's about this long, if you can kind of see my
There's
fingers.
a little variation. It's like I'm very long-legged,
Yeah.
short-waisted. So if I was sitting, we might have a slightly different than even though same overall height.
But her
sitting
finger
down.
couldn't touch the trigger.
Because the thing
Right.
is, that her crime, no, actually her
Wasn't there a
situation.
sexual something?
Yes, what happened
Yeah,
was,
there was some
what wound up happening is that
accusations.
when her family was notified of her death, she was already stateside. Typically, when you die in Afghanistan, you go to Germany for holding, and then they ship your body to DC,
Right.
where they do the autopsy,
autopsy.
and then they ship your body to where your family's located. Her body was shipped to Germany within 2 hours after her body was discovered. They did the autopsy in Germany. In fact, let me rephrase. They amputated her tongue. They took her tongue out
Why?
because they couldn't get the bullet.
Oh.
They took her tongue.
See.
She was a virgin. They filled her vaginal and anal cavity with some type of there is a wound cauterizer that I've been told about. What happens is if you're in combat and you're injured in combat and you have an open wound, there's a powdery substance you pour in the wound,
Right.
and what happens is that it seals the wound until you can
Can
get
get
medical
Right,
treatment.
right.
Somebody poured this stuff into her vaginal and her anal cavity. And that was before she even got to Germany. When she got to Germany,
Why would they
by
do
that
that?
time, to conceal the sexual assault,
Right.
because she was a virgin.
Right.
To conceal the sexual assault, they poured that into her cavities.
So
When
pretty
she
much
got
so pretty much she was never
correct,
sexually active.
correct.
So they pretty much just lied about that
Correct.
she was sexually assaulted.
And when she got to Germany, by that time it had turned to cement, so they had to amputate both of those cavities. By the time her family was notified, she died on a Thursday. Her family wasn't notified until that Tuesday when she was already in DC. Her family was not notified when she died. By the time her
The whole
family
thing is
notified,
sickening.
she was already stateside on her way to St. Louis.
After all of that had
After
happened.
all of that, and her family,
Her poor family. Her
her
poor
fam-
family.
I had her
can't
father
imagine.
and her mother on my show, and it was literally,
It would have been horrible.
like, as a parent, it was hard to hear. I would definitely like to bring her story to the forefront. I would also like to do a real biopic on George Reeves, the first Superman who died under mysterious circumstances. It was said to be a suicide, but then they think it was murder. One of the biggest ones I would like to do is the Black Dahlia, a real biopic of the Black Dahlia.
Yeah, I've actually heard about the movie. Heard it was flopped. Really
Yes,
bad.
the movie was more of a satire, old 30s crime story. I want somebody to be the Black Dahlia. and I want to go and just really just hit it home. Me, I'm more of a crime, and
Right.
I definitely want to do something on the
So you
John
lean
Benet
more-
Ramsey.
You lean. Oh.
Yes, because I still think that boy did it.
Oh boy.
The brother. They recently had in November the 20-year anniversary story.
I think you're right.
They had the 20-year
I think you're right.
anniversary story.
I've
I've
never
had some
even heard of
inside conversations with people who knew the family from there.
Yes.
So from the community. I have contact with someone who's from the old community. And the conversations that we have had, because local information that was circulating was contained really well.
Of course.
Okay? And I
Yes.
I think you're right.
It's become, at one point in time, it was the assumption that the parents had something to do with her death. But
I think they
when
may have had to do with the
ABC,
concealing.
they concealed
They
it.
concealed it
When
because they
the-
didn't want to finger
When the young
the
girl
other child they had
died,
left. I
when
mean,
they
oh my
found her body, which I think is, of course, is some of the most weirdest shoddy police investigation next to the O.J. Simpson trial.
I was going to say, now we're going to the OJ.
Absolutely. Her body was found in the basement. Why nobody searched this house in full detail, I have no idea. This body was in the house the whole time, or so they say. But what gets my goat is that
Or so
the
they
young
say,
girl,
right.
the young girl was found with pineapples and milk in her stomach. The night before, December 25th, the family went to a Christmas party. She got home pretty late, sometime around 11:30. The mother claimed she put her right to bed, and then when they were leaving in the morning to go to see her husband's older children in New York around this area, she found the note on the stairs, did not call the police, called her husband, said, "Honey, what's going on?" And then they just sat there. "Don't call the police. We're watching you. We will kill her." Sure, no problem. "Hello, police." Something wasn't a little strange about that. But then they found out.
I was going to say that's a little strange, but I'm a mother of three myself.
I would probably do the same.
As a mother, I was going to ask you, as a mother, if somebody says, if you
But
pick
I would
up
be
the phone,
hesitant.
she's dead, I would
teeter on, okay, are they really watching me? I would try my absolute best to get somebody else
Somebody
to call the
else's
police.
attention.
To call the police, something.
Right.
But for me to read, "We have your child. If you call the police, we will know. We will kill her." I'm not picking up the phone because I'm afraid somebody is out here in the bushes and they're watching me.
Well,
They're probably
got a
looking.
camera in my,
Exactly.
in the corner of my house.
But they believe.
I would be afraid, as a mother, I would be terrified
And see.
that I would be the one
Exactly,
to
to
cause
get my
the
child.
death of my child because I didn't follow the
And they
instructions.
believe that the young boy was able to stay up a little later to put together his racetrack set that he had got for Christmas. And he often had a snack of pineapples and milk. And she came downstairs, took a piece of pineapple out of his plate. He lost his mind, and they believe that he hit her with a kitchen utensil. And when the family was not able to revive her, they hid her body and tried to make it seem like, okay, it was an intruder. Unfortunately, the real truth died with Patsy. But John is still alive, the father, and the son, Burke. I don't think we're ever going to find out who did it, but it would make for a very good movie.
You know what? From what I understand, Bert is understandably not right.
Correct. That's been evident since all of his investigative stuff came out.
That's right. And whether he was involved, responsible, or just tragically lost his sister, we can understand
He needs help.
him not being right. That's right. So would it actually serve a purpose now to identify him from his father's point of view and have to admit all that covering up? Probably not. But on his death, it would be nice to have some truth told. However, I only imagine that they're going to continue to protect him.
From a parent's side, I could see their reason for protecting.
I would hope. It would be really nice to think that the truth has been
my whole
written
thing
and
is that
sealed. Say in 50 years.
there could have been
openness.
other ways to do it. If you
Yeah.
were trying to hide that your son accidentally killed your other kid and to not bring shame, why not
Bring it to the surface and get him help.
bring it to the surface, get him help? Or
As an adolescent, it would not have ruined his whole life.
correct,
Per se,
but
although
it
would
would have
tagged
embarrassed him, or what embarrassed the family.
him. And it would have tagged him
But I
for
mean,
his whole life. But now he
but-
lives it in suspicion anyways, and it's
And what
ruined his life.
reason is that to go? But then for the family to mock the police,
The
you're
system.
not doing your job. You're not. They're not, because you're the one that
you're
responsible.
right.
So I mean, there's so many, but I
Yeah.
definitely would want to do a couple of good biopics, something
Right.
good. Maybe even a Jimi Hendrix one, or Hall and Oates. Something that got some depth to it. Something. But I want to be able to have the creative control.
Robin Williams.
Yes.
You asked me who?
Mm.
Robin Williams.
Marlon Brando. Oh, I know one
Marlon
better.
Brando, yeah.
Rock Hudson.
Rock Hudson. That absolutely.
Rock Hudson. But
Yes.
I want to have the creative control to tell
Tell
the
it,
truth.
The truth.
I don't want to be personally invested into the story to a point where,
You're
that's my
twisting it.
friend, so
No.
I'm going to protect
Right,
my friend.
right.
I want to not know this person's family, friends. I want to go and say,
Right.
you know what? Let's choose Rock Hudson. Let's go and tell the absolute
Right.
truth. Not from this person's side, not from this person's side,
Right.
but from the evidence.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson.
Ooh,
You
it's a
know,
crazy one.
you know what? If you asked me before, I didn't name all Michael Jackson. He would be there. Robin Williams. That would be there.
But
Because those are
what could
people
we
that
know about Michael Jackson
that we
we
didn't
don't
know.
already know?
I don't know, but maybe that's what you need. That's what would be found out.
The
What,
biopic of his adult life.
Well, you know what's so strange?
maybe I was
His
gonna say,
adult life.
I don't think we really know the truth about it all.
Well, you know what? I know the one thing that plagues
Elizabeth
him.
Taylor. There you go. There's my 5.
Oh yeah, yeah, with her and all her 8 husbands. Now that was a woman.
And the repeat.
And
Why
yes,
do you remarry and divorce and remarry the same guy a handful of times?
nothing wrong with that.
Well,
It's like the Michael Jackson
get that. You
adult
just like
biopics.
weddings?
People want to know, did he really do what he was accused of? My
Right.
point is that shame me, do me wrong once, shame on me.
Right.
Do me wrong. No. Do me wrong once, shame on you. Do me wrong twice, shame on me.
Right.
If you as a parent have been told that your child has been touched or molested by
And then you
this
send them
celebrity,
back.
but then you take, instead of not wanting to see them in jail, you want their money. They never asked. When the police asked the mother of the first young boy, do you want to press charges? She said, no, I want to settle this out of court. Why, as a mother, do you not want to see the man who has allegedly, inappropriately
I
touched
agree.
your child? Why do you want to not see them in jail?
I agree.
You want to see their millions, not the jail.
I agree.
But then, as a second parent going around, and you hear that a first child has been touched, you as a mother now are going to send your child in after what happened the last
Right.
time?
On the other hand, if you believe that first story was fabricated for money,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because here you want to settle out of court, she wants money. Well, maybe it really isn't true. Am I now keeping my child from this amazing person that can contribute to his life?
True.
Okay, so that's the other side of it.
I see that side, but there's
But then
one point where we're not really understanding. Me as a mother, I have a son.
Right.
My son sleeps in the bed with nobody
Right.
but me,
right.
maybe his dad, depending on if he stays over his
How-
dad's
how
house.
old is your son?
Well, my son's 14 now.
Right. But
But
when he was younger.
But when he was younger, he may crawl in the bed with my mom. That's his grandma.
Sure.
He may crawl in the bed with me if he have a nightmare. May crawl in the bed over at his dad's house. Daddy, look, I had a nightmare.
Right.
Can you rock me to sleep? But me as a mother,
stranger.
if my son is meeting Michael Jackson,
That doesn't mean bed.
that does not mean, oh,
Right.
mommy, I'm spending the
night.
night at Michael's. No, you're not.
Right.
No, we going to spend the night. Me and you.
Yeah, absolutely.
On fact, why are we even here? Where's the nearest hotel?
Right.
But then, mommy, I'm staying in Michael's bed. No, you not.
Right,
We gonna
exactly.
stay on the couch. You, me, and Bobo. We gonna stay on the couch
Right.
together. Where's the giraffe at? We gonna sleep with the giraffe. I'm not letting my
Right.
child
No, you're absolutely
stay
right.
in a bed
No, you're absolutely
with
right.
another grown man. And
No,
to
of
what
course not.
play Peter Pan and his merry men.
No, you're absolutely right.
That's no good.
As a mother, you know what? We've been invited to stay and enjoy the home and everything that it offers for the
it's
weekend.
time to go. Ooh, time to go. Let's go. Come on, the hotel.
But you know what? I might have stayed, but my child's with me. You know, if
we sleep together.
We sleep together. Right.
We ain't sharing no bed with Michael.
You're in a big mansion.
You got plenty of room.
You got plenty of rooms. It's like, you know what? We're inviting everybody to stay so we can continue the fun tomorrow. You know,
sure.
We'll put you up. We're going to give you a big breakfast. That includes the parents.
Yeah.
That includes that.
You ain't going to stay with parents. Y'all go back to the hotel. The kids here.
Hell no.
Come stay in Uncle Mikey's room.
Nah,
no. Me, Bobo, and my child will be fine in our little room. Where's the monkey?
No, absolutely.
I want the monkey to stay with me as proof. Where's the monkey?
We want to have a late night party and watch movies and have popcorn.
Look,
that's a whole parent thing.
Exactly.
That's a whole. You know what? We're gonna be like a big family tonight. We're all gonna watch movies.
That's just common sense parenting.
Popcorn. That's just common sense parenting.
That's common sense parenting.
I don't care who he is.
Well, ladies,
he's not in the bed with my child.
Well, ladies, this is about that time I'm wrapping up, and pretty much that we talked a lot, and we have a lot to talk about.
We do.
Because we have so much to put in, but it's that time to wrap things up. I'm Terrell Antoine of rawcurvesmedia Curvypreneur. And I'm with my guests, Lisa Pearl and Ms. Drica Armstrong. We actually had a lot to talk about when it comes to film and productions.
Absolutely.
And our past and backgrounds and everything. So we will definitely keep in touch with everybody. If you want to find out more about the people part of the Curvypreneur, you can always look on www.rawcurvesmedia, and you can find out more information about these two lovely ladies. And then actually, you know what?
Of course, you can always you can always find me on my radio shows, and that's cityworldradio.com. I'm on Wednesdays from 5 to 7 Eastern Standard. I am on Facebook, Lisa Pearl Live. I have a YouTube channel, Lisa Pearl Live. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram, Lisa Pearl Live.
YouTube.
I'm out everywhere.
You forgot that
YouTube. I didn't forget YouTube. I said it, didn't I?
You said YouTube.
Oh, good.
And I'm trying to build my YouTube channel because I've been really lax. So please go find me on YouTube.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, because I have things everywhere that I'm going to be moving over there. I'm going to continue to populate it. So please find me and follow me.
And you can find me, Drica Armstrong, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, also on YouTube at Drica Armstrong, spelled D-R-I-C-A, Armstrong, all one word. All
right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of the new season of Curvypreneur. Curvypreneur out.
To the grocery store, okay?
All right,
And we'll be back.
all right, baby. Y'all be good now.
Bye, Daddy. Don't do nothing crazy either.
Hello, it's Daddy. Hey, darling, quit by me on the phone. Yeah, Barbara, it's Richie. Yeah, look, I ain't never coming home no more. Take it easy.
I left home, baby, to be with my side piece. I left home to be with my side piece. I left home, baby, to be been looking for me. Till I'll be home shortly, but I ain't coming home till 3. Even though I'm wrong, she know I'm coming home. Soon as I hit the door, baby, she say Big Daddy's home. I left home, baby, to be with my side piece. I left home to be with my side piece. I left home, baby, to be with my side piece. I left home to be with my side piece. See, this is the definition of a real man. See, when I'm with my side piece, she understands. All about my situation, all about my obligations. And when we on vacation, we in an unknown destination. You might find me in Morocco or down